All right, hello everybody. This is Patrick Bosek here for easyDITA, and today we're going to be taking a look at easyDITA 2016. This is the next major version of easyDITA, so thank you everybody for coming to take a look, and we're going to go ahead and get started. So today, introducing easyDITA 2016. We've got a pretty simple agenda. We're going to do a quick introduction to what we're going to be seeing today. Then we're going to do a walkthrough of easyDITA 2016. And at the end, we'll have a few minutes for questions before we break at the top of the hour. So what's new in easyDITA 2016? We've completely rebuilt the user interface with the exception of a couple of the smaller UIs throughout the software. We'll see that as we're going through. We've made many performance improvements across the system. So those of you who are already easyDITA customers and haven't switched over to easyDITA 2016 yet, you'll notice that the content management interfaces, which are all new, will load a lot faster. Maps are going to load a lot faster. Large publications are handled really, really well. And there's just general performance improvements across the software. We have strongly integrated metadata and taxonomy in the system now. We have the ability to manage this metadata and taxonomy directly inside of the software. This makes it very simple for teams who are looking to leverage the benefits of classifying their content or using different organizational structures. This makes it a lot simpler and easier for them. So we'll take a brief look at this today. And we also have a universal publishing connector. This system is actually one of the only things we won't be looking at today. So look out for a webinar specifically on this in the future. But just a little bit of an introduction to what that is. We've built a connector framework that allows us to connect to just about any other system that will accept web requests. So this can be wikis, it can be web's content management systems, it can be enterprise content management systems. And all we need to do to connect to these things is do some very simple configuration, which is generally just around how they authenticate and how they accept content. And easyDITA takes care of all of the compilation of the DITA content, all the resolution of URIs, URLs, and all of the connection that's needed to push this content into these other systems. So out of the box today, we have connectors to MindTouch, WordPress, SharePoint, SalesforceDesk.com, and a couple of other systems are being worked on right now. Setting up these connections is very simple. So if you are using a content management system to present your content that wasn't on that list, generally it's less than a couple days of effort to get a new configuration set up for those systems. So this is a really powerful aspect of the new version of easyDITA. Really opens up the possibilities for web publishing and the ability to use easyDITA with other systems. So with that said, we are now going to have our walkthrough of easyDITA. All right, so this is the first thing we see when we log into easyDITA 2016. This is our dashboard. The dashboard has several major sections. The first one you're going to see is your inbox. Your inbox is a personal stream of workflow-related and notification-related items that you should care about as they relate directly to you as your user. So in the inbox here, you'll see that I have a number of assignments that relate to my current user. Comments on my documents or replies to my comments will also show up here. We'll see that in a little bit. And as we look down through this inbox, we have the ability to classify these items in different ways. So I can get rid of them, I can snooze them, I can pin them. So this creates a stream of notifications for us that only show us the things that we really care about. And allow us to keep a really good handle on the workflow for review and collaboration inside of easyDITA. We also have a full roll-up of activity inside of the system. This activity tracking is something you'll see throughout the system. This is really beneficial for seeing if anything's been done to a document or if anything has changed along the way since a certain period in time. So this can be something that can be used to determine if something should be republished or re-reviewed or any of those types of things. We'll notice that this can be contextualized to maps or to specific topics, and we'll see that in the next set of interfaces. We have a more traditional interaction for our assignment system. This is a search and browse UI for just looking through what assignments are currently open in easyDITA. It defaults to the ones that need your attention, but there's a number of other predefined filters, and then you can set up your own filters by selecting from the options up here. We also have an administration area. This is where we can configure our metadata. We can set up our collections, which we'll talk about a little bit more later. We can configure our taxonomies, and then we have the same configurations we saw in the last version of easyDITA for users and plugins. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to jump into the author interface. This is the other major interface in easyDITA. What we'll see here is that we have a very similar structure to what we saw in the old version of easyDITA. We have folders. Folders have folders in them. They have content in them. And we're able to browse between them just by clicking down through the structure. So this is a very familiar interface. This is something that everybody's going to be familiar with. It's what we use on our desktops every day. Now, as we click through this content, we'll see that we get this mini resource viewer over on the side here. So this is one of the new additions in easyDITA 2016. We'll see that this user interface provides us a nice little preview of our document here. This changes as we click along. It also provides us our system level metadata. So we have the name of the actual file, we have its location, we have its status, its owner, the type, a small roll-up of the linking for this file, and then when it was created and modified. You'll also see user-defined metadata down here if any of that is set up in the system. As we're browsing through our files, we can also use the collections as a method of browsing through our content. So what we'll see here is that collections are a lot like smart folders. So the main difference between a collection and a folder is that content can be in as many collections as you want it to be in. So we'll see we've got Intro to 2016 there, and it's simple. It's very simple to add it to another collection. So this is a way of classifying content, but also using it very much like a folder structure. The last user interface we have here in the browse is the starring system. This is just basically a personal bookmark system. So it's really nice for being able to just come back to content that you're working on at the time. So it's very easy to add and remove these stars from files. And these are only going to apply to your user. So if you star something and someone else stars something else, you won't see each other's stars. So it makes it very easy to just keep track of the things that are important to you at the time. The next thing we want to take a look at is the search function in easyDITA. So if I come up into the search bar, I can punch in the word topic, and we'll see we get a nice type ahead here. Some of you will recognize that I have the DITA lang ref loaded in one of the other folders, which is why I'm getting a lot of the standard topics in the DITA lang ref. If I hit enter, I'll complete the search, and it's going to show me all the different matches I have across the system. So you can see it's showing me the first 50 of 722 results. That's going to match any part of the document which is configured to be searched. So very similar to the old version of easyDITA, the search is configurable and can target different parts of the XML. The XML this can be the body content, it can be specific elements, it can be specific attributes. There's no limitations on what part of the document the full text search can interact with. But new in easyDITA 2016, we'll see that we have all of these filters set up along the side. So by default, we have 3 different out-of-the-box system-level metadata filters. We have our needs attention filter. We have our status filters. This is interacting with our workflow system. We have our content type filter. So we'll see this is the different types of objects we have in the system. And then down below, we have any user-defined metadata fields. We can filter on these as well. So let's say I want to see all of the concepts that are in review. So now I'm seeing 3 concepts that have the status review and match this keyword, or this full text search right here. So this makes it very easy for us to sort and find our files. We can see all the documents that have open comments on them. So these are items that we may need to go and perform some action on. Or we can use this to just find things throughout the system that relate to different metadata that we've assigned to it. The really wonderful part about this search and browse interface is that they're completely integrated together. So if I come in as I'm browsing through my content and I click on the filters, I can actually come through here and I can use any of these filters right as I'm browsing along. So let's say I want to see only my tasks. There's 2 tasks here. And then I could filter these down further if they had, they both have in progress, but if one of them had status, we could filter that down more. So if you have folders that are full of large document sets, so if you have 1,000 or a few thousand files in a particular folder, this interface is going to make it very easy to pull down to a much smaller set of files and find what you're looking for very quickly. And just as I'm applying metadata filtering here, I can also apply full text search as well. So how about DITA? That's actually not a good search term. So how about editing? There we go. We can see that's matching on the title there. It's bolding it for us. So bringing these 2 different interfaces together, we've created one integrated search and navigation system. So this is going to make it really easy to find your content even when you have very large sets of files. Next up, we're going to want to take a look at how the context can interact in easyDITA. So many of you may be using DITA vals to filter your content or key refs or con key refs to show different content in different cases. And one of the things that can be a little bit of a pain with DITA is being able to see this content as you move around because it can change. So we can see that if we have our preview over here, and we open this up to give a little bit of a bigger preview, that we'll be seeing these key references throughout the system. And these key references are right now just linking to the IDs that present these keys and keep them in order. But if we're able to open up a map that links in that keys file, which I'm going to do by double-clicking on this map, and then we go to view that document in its preview, we'll see that these are now resolved. And this allows us to see exactly how our content is going to be resolved as we navigate through the system. So the way this is being set is with this menu up top, and this is our global context system. So by default, it will set to any map that we have open. We can select a different map here by clicking Select Context Map. And we can go and we can apply DITA val filters by clicking Add a DITA val filter, and that will apply any filtration to this content that will then have the same global application to our preview and editing windows. So now that we have our map open and we have our context set, let's just take a look at the map authoring in the new version of easyDITA. So as I'm opening up these different nodes in this tree, we'll see that we have a couple of different elements. So these are topic heads here, and we have a direct topic reference here. So I'm actually going to go into one of these folders, and I'm just going to grab one of these topics that's in some of our submaps and drag it right into our master map. So adding content into easyDITA's map editor is very simple. It's going to suggest a topic ref for us. We can change this if we want to. You can see it's filtering to show us only the elements which are valid where we've dropped this in the map at our current location. And this is going to be different sets of elements based on the type of map. So those of you who are familiar with the differences between DITA maps and book maps and learning maps would recognize that this menu here will be adapted to the particular type of map that you're using, which is really helpful when you're going and you're building these things out. So just by clicking Insert, that's going to drop and set that right in there for us. Building some structure is also very easy. We can just drag it on top of another element. Once we have our content built out in our table of contents over on the side here, we can go and we can click on our preview. And our preview is going to give us this great infinite scroll of our content that allows us to just walk down through our map And it's only going to load the pieces of this map that we're on currently, which means that it's very easy for us to interact with very large maps and publications. So next what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and open up the topic authoring interface. The topic authoring interface is going to be very similar to the topic authoring interface in the old easyDITA, but it's going to have some really nice new improvements we'll see right now. So clicking on the edit button, this is going to open up our topic authoring interface directly in line. It's going to add a new tab that says editing. You can see it has a number 1 here. So if we open up multiple documents, they will all show up in this new interface right here that's just popped in. This is really nice for keeping all of your windows together. One of the points of customer feedback that we received fairly consistently when we were on our old version was that people didn't want to see multiple tabs opening up in their browser windows. So we took that to heart and we added a tabbed interface directly into the user interface here. So now for those of you who are familiar with the easyDITA authoring environment, you'll notice this is pretty similar. It's built to be a very simple, what you see is what you get interface for DITA XML content. But we have some really nice power user features that have been expanded in the new version of easyDITA. So we have this helpful fast insert menu, and this allows us to insert things at almost any point in the document without ever taking our hands off the keyboard. So if, for instance, I want to insert something below my current context, I can hit Control-Shift-I, and then I'm given the ability to select where I want to put the next element. So for instance, I could put a section in. And this is a topic, not a concept, so it puts the section directly below my paragraph. Let's say I wanted to put a figure above this paragraph in this section. I could hit Control-Shift-U for above, insert before paragraph, and then I can find my figure. Now that we have a figure, maybe we want to set this image that we have here. And I can just come down and find a piece of media that I can then set as this image. I can also append items with the fast insert menu. So I could append a code block to this figure, Control-Shift-A. This makes for a very fluid and fast authoring experience. And it gives users who are comfortable with the DITA standard or your particular specialization the ability to add content very quickly. Also available from this interface is the ability to set key refs and con-key refs. So if I'm typing along and I want to add a key ref in place here, as long as I have my context set, which is set by opening up a map, I can hit Control-Shift-C, and then I can filter down to find the key ref that I'm looking for. So for instance, let's go down to Topic Editor, which we abbreviate TE, and it's going to place that key ref right in line for me. This works for key refs as well. So for those users who have embraced a key referencing strategy for linking, this makes creating links much easier. So if we want to set a reference to anything that has a key reference in our map, we can hit Control-Shift-K, and then we can come and select a key reference. This makes the process of interacting with keys and variables known in the DITA world as con-key refs, a much simpler and smoother process. So now that we've made some changes to our content, the next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to take a little bit of a look at our assignment and authoring, our assignment and collaboration system. So our old version of easyDITA had a ticket system. This has been renamed assignments for those of you who are familiar with tickets. The assignment system has a number of major upgrades that are going to be really interesting to users who've been using the ticketing system. So what we can do here is we can start by selecting just a single file, and we can right-click and we can say New Assignment. And in this assignment, we can offer a little bit of a summary. Then we can give it a due date. Now we'll notice that because we have this map open, it's automatically setting our context. And we can change this, of course. But this is setting it to what we currently have open, or our current context if we had set it ourselves up in that global context. And it's setting it for this file here. Now this is really nice because this means we can send off an assignment, and the user who's interacting with this content doesn't have to spend any time thinking about setting up the variables or the data vals on this content. It's already set for them, and they can just go in and start working with their content. Down below, we have the ability to select from different workflows. These can be configured to be anything. So out of the box, we just have these two very simple workflows. You'll see that the name matches the steps. That's not required. That is just how we set it up by default. So it's very common that when people do assign their own workflows, that they come in here and they make the name of the workflow different than the steps. So now I'm just going to find my other user and assign it to the author step. Click Create. This is going to send my user an email. It's also going to present a new item in the inbox. So we can see there's assignment number 8. It's just popped up into our inbox. So clicking on this View Assignment link, this is going to present us with the same interface as we would as clicking on the View Assignment link that in the email that was sent to us. Now that we're into the assignment, we get a really nice roll-up of the different items on the assignment. So it tells us what the details are, where we are in the workflow, and then what resources are involved in this assignment. So now, if we're someone who's going to be making changes to this content, we can click Edit. If we're someone who's just going to be reviewing this content, we can click on the View button here, and this will open up the content in the resource viewer. So this is a simple way to get into the ability to take a quick look at this content. And let's just go take a stroll over here and unlock this. And then in our dashboard, come back and view this. So if we're just reviewing content, we can use this Add Comment button, and this allows us to very easily add content or comments directly into our content. So this is very similar to what you have from a PDF review system. So I can say this content needs an update. Click Save. That's going to leave our comment directly on that file. Once we're done with our work on this particular part of the assignment, we can click Complete, and we can leave a comment as to what we've done. We can see that shows our comment in the activity, so it's very easy to keep track of what's been going on with this content. And it moves the assignment along to the verify step. So now back as our other user, we'll see that this has been brought up in our inbox because we are now the person who is assigned to the step for this assignment. We'll also see that the new comment that has been placed in this has popped up in our inbox. This is because my current user here is the owner of this content. So clicking View Comment will take me into the user interface that shows me the comment and where it was placed in the document. I can actually directly reply to this comment here, and this would send a notification back to the other user. Clicking on View Assignment again, we can see that now that we're one step further into the workflow, we're presented with a couple of different items. Now we're able to return this back to the other user in the event that there is further work that needs to be done, or there's a reason that they need to take another look at it. We also always have the option of this forward button. The forward button is a really useful way of passing around work inside of a workflow. So the reason that we added this in was because we found that oftentimes workflow was too rigid, and that content or assignments on content would get assigned to users, and they wouldn't necessarily have the ability to complete it, or they wouldn't have time or whatever it may be. So by allowing them to forward this to another user, it means that work groups can manage their own process inside of a defined workflow without having to go and pass their project managers. So if I'm on this step, I can select another user just as I would in any other user interface, and then I can leave a comment to forward this over to that person. So right now, I'm just going to click complete, and this is going to end our assignment. Now we can see this is completely closed out. One of the things that we'll be doing a webinar in the near future is talking about all the different configuration that is possible in the workflow system. So we have a CMS level trigger system that's underneath this system here that allows us to activate different parts of the software from the workflow system. This means that different actions can be taken as people move through workflows. This can interact with metadata, it can interact with publishing systems, and it can interact with notification. So this is a very powerful notion for people who want a little bit more out of their workflow. So they still want something which is fairly straightforward, easy for people to use, but they're not interested. But they need the ability to have just a little bit more interaction, and they're not interested in going to something that's overly complex. So now that we've taken a look through the basic authoring, workflow, and map editing features in the system, I want to just head back for a minute and take a look at some of the more advanced interfaces. So now we can see that we've had this mini resource viewer over on the side. I want to click this open and take a look at some of the interfaces below it that give us a little more details on these files. So I'm going to click History. This is going to pull up in our history system. This allows us to compare any arbitrary version of this file. So if we take a look at the file we've been editing, we go into History. We can see we have a number of entries in the history here. And we can go and we can compare any of these two entries together. And this makes it very easy for us to see what's been happening inside of this content. We have our full properties interface here. So this gives us the full roll-up of all of our different metadata. It gives us all of our system level metadata here. It allows us a very simple way of adding new items to the metadata fields, so I can associate this with different things. And it gives us access to our different API endpoints. easyDITA does a very good job of interacting with other systems. Most organizations don't use just one system when they're dealing with content, especially in today's day and age. Things like web help and PDF, while still are very often used, can be useful in certain situations, aren't going to be the only way that your data content gets exposed to end users. So knowing this, easyDITA has built the publishing connectors and the API connectors that make it easy for users to come in here and connect this to other systems and really make it a part of the total information supply chain inside of an organization. We also have the releases system that was available in the last version of easyDITA, and we have the localization system that was available in the last version. Looking at the map editor and going a little bit further in here, we can see that right-clicking on the map editor exposes a number of sub-interfaces that are probably a lot more familiar to people who are very familiar with the data specification. So we have the ability to get into the map editor and interact directly with the attributes that are on these different nodes. So this is an interface that can have freeform nodes. It can also or these are the attributes, and they can be freeform attributes, or they can be controlled by the DTD. This makes it easy to come in here and make changes to these items. We can also get into the actual XML on an element-by-element basis in a very easy way. Finally, when it is configured, the map editor has the ability to set metadata, oftentimes book meta, using a simple form. So that's something that if you are managing complex information in the front of your books, it's probably going to be very interesting to you. So that's the basic walkthrough of easyDITA 2016. So if anybody has any questions, now would be a great time to ask them. I think there's a questions dialog right in the GoToWebinar. So someone's asked if we can talk a little bit more about the localization interaction. So we're going to be doing a quick webinar on the localization system specifically in the next couple of months, but I can talk a little bit more about how that works and what the different interactions are. So the basic interaction for localization is through these two different tabs. So we have the localization jobs system, which is present in the maps resource viewer. This system gives us the ability to download XLIF packages or source packages of content. This content is then sent to a localization provider and re-uploaded into the system. Once this is re-uploaded into the system, it can be published using the publishing systems that are already embedded in easyDITA. So easyDITA does a really good job of managing the cached and basic XLIF content together. So once you upload content into easyDITA, the caching system associates this content with the document that has been built. It has been built for. So if you have a topic and you upload a localized version, that cache is going to be stored against that topic in the system, and then that is available when you go to publish. It also tracks all of the times and the checksums of this content, so it knows specifically when this content has been changed, and at that point it understands if the cached versions of the content are out of date. We're going to go into more depth with that on a webinar that is specifically designed for localization. If you have any other more specific questions, I'm also happy to answer them offline. Can you select from search and drag into a map? Yes, absolutely. So if I just punch in topic again here, I could grab topic 2 and put it right here. You can actually select from the drop-down up here as well. Can you show bringing content into the system from outside? Sure, absolutely. So if we go back into our browse and start down here and create a new folder, and then I want to upload a new file, select files to upload. So I'm just grabbing a file off my desktop. Find So this is just going to be a zip package that I'm opening up. You can see we have an archive.zip right there. You can select as many files as you want, so those can be zips or just regular files, and click upload. Once this is uploaded, it's going to maintain all the same file structure. So what you can see here is if I grab that folder that I uploaded, So this is the archive I uploaded here, and we can see that the folder structure and all of the content structure mirrors what was uploaded exactly. So we have the same folders here and the same content. So the ability to compare multiple versions, that is a feature that is included in easyDITA, so you do not need a separate tool for that. And actually, now that I think about it, I forgot to show that in one other interface that might be considered even more useful to most people. So if we pop over into the preview here, we'll see that as you're going through the preview, you actually have the ability to set status here, and also the ability to do a compare on this content as you're working through it. So if you click on the view changes, you can very easily click view changes since last approved, and this is going to run a comparison on this document right into that last approved time, which gives you the red line, green line change bars. So as you're reviewing content, it makes it really simple to see what's been done since the last time this content was approved. So what do I specifically need to look at? And then you can just do that all the way down through this content as you're going and reviewing it. Can you filter a search based on an attribute and find all the audience attributes that has value? Yes. So the question is, these filters here, can these be configured to work on the actual DITA attributes? And the answer to that is yes. So if you have a specific attribute or a specific value on an XML element that we can target with an XPath inside of the DITA topic, we can then create a configuration for a filter that lives over on the side here. And then, obviously you won't be able to set that through the properties menu. That's a filter that will need to be set as you're authoring, but it will be filtering based on the content in the XML document as opposed to the CMS level metadata, which is what we've been showing here today. Next question is the user interface a pure browser application or HTML5, or do you need browser plugins? So the answer is it's 99% a pure HTML application. There is a simple browser plugin that enables copying and pasting. It's really, really small. The only reason that we even have that is because modern browsers have security restrictions on accessing content from the clipboard. So we had to build that so we could just basically grab anything that was copy and pasted. But that's the only thing that requires a plugin in order to interact with. Currently within a file, opens is in files. Go to back. So if you, I'm trying to read this question. I'm not exactly sure what it means. So currently within file A, if you click on the link to file B, it opens, and easyDITA then stays in file B. Can I go back to the directory of file A? Larry, I don't totally get that one. Maybe we could figure that one out offline. Okay. If we want to import Word documents from other teams, can we do the conversion into DITA? No, we do not provide a direct conversion from Word to DITA. There are some plugins to the Open Toolkit that do some level of conversion that you can run offline, and then you can upload content. If you want a more custom conversion, there are organizations that we work with that will do those conversions. And some of them have systems that you can upload the content yourself, and it will provide a conversion on the fly without having to actually talk to anybody. So that's based on a configuration that they set up or you set up or something like that, or one of the two. If you have further questions about that, we can discuss that offline. Is there any upload conversion tools? Nope. So that was kind of the same question. No, we don't have any embedded conversion tools in the system. We find that those tend to be really messy, and we opt to to keep that whole process as clean as possible, so that there's not you don't run into the issues with that kind of stuff. What happens if you move a topic or a map? You just move it. So you can, if you have content that you want to move, you right-click and you click Move, and then you select a different location. So maybe we put it in here. How about right there? Select. You can leave a comment for this because this is a commit into the history system. Click Move. So then we'll see that that maintains that. And we click here, it's now in this upload folder. You'll also notice this nice little green icon. So this recycle icon is showing you that the topic is used in this map somewhere or in its submaps. If it's black, it means that it is reused or it is linked to, but not in this, this dependency tree. Can you connect to another system for a specific workflow in easyDITA? What would the interface be? CMIS. We do not have a CMIS, a generic CMIS connector. In our experience, CMIS is largely open to interpretation, so we haven't developed anything that connects specifically to CMIS. That said, we have a well-documented REST API. So if you have the ability to interact with that, that's a very simple system to interact with. Can you integrate with another system for workflow specifically? It's funny that you should ask. We're actually working on a configuration internally for ourselves to do that with our workflow system. And that would probably be a configuration that would be run off of the CMS level triggers, depending on exactly what it is you're looking to do with it. But the combination of the triggers that could cause events to fire that would interact, that would send requests to another system, and the REST API to get things back in, you could definitely make that connection work. The WYSIWYG editor looks great, but is there a way to also edit maps and topics in plain view text code view? Yes, absolutely. So if we open up a topic and we're moving through this topic and editing it, we can actually go ahead and we can just use our quick menu here. So we can see the bottom one here is Open Source Code Editor. This is also available from the Edit menu, but I really like doing it this way. So Control-Shift, comma, and this opens up our tags on view, plain text view, and you'll notice that the cursor, which I guess is probably a little hard to see, but it's right here, maintains its position, just like selections maintain their position. So these go both ways. So it's very easy to find your content when you're going between these two things. So trying to understand how easyDITA can be used for content editing in other areas. So I think this is often a question of configuration and training. So if you have pieces of content which are high-value business content and you really want it to get to a point where it's structured, then you can come in and you can configure some templates that are going to make it easier for people, and then you put together some workflows that are going to allow them to easily interact with the content in a way that's understandable to them, and is something that they're going to come and they're going to be able to do with you. So as an example, easyDITA internally, so here at our organization, we write all of our blogs, all of our articles, all of our RFPs, all of our sell sheets, and all of our documentation in easyDITA. So you'll actually see that our metadata is set up so that we have what part of the website it applies to, what part of the software it applies to, and there's actually we have a marketing taxonomy that I don't have configured here as well. And that allows us to reuse pieces of each of those items in other places. And when you're going and you're writing blogs that are about your software or your hardware or whatever it is that you work with, it's probably pretty common that you want to include something that's a little bit more technical in an explanation of what you're doing. So then you can just go and you can grab that stuff. So it really ups the ability to have some great reuse. Additionally, if your people come in and they write their content in something like easyDITA, then when you connect that to whatever your website is, so ours is on WordPress. One of the big reasons we have a WordPress connector is because we needed to publish to WordPress. You can be assured that your content is going to be completely consistent every single time you publish it. So that really makes for a system of creating and publishing and reviewing content that is very straightforward and very reliable. So obviously Word is the tool of choice for many users in other parts of the organization, but if the tool is introduced to them and the value is introduced to them, they don't have to do formatting anymore. They don't have to worry about passing things around through email. Everybody's work is all in one place. The publish button is just a button that sits there. There's no copy paste to other systems. I think most people are going to see that as long as their content fits inside of that paradigm, that there is enough value there that maybe they should try something new. I think I understand what you're saying, Larry. So I think this might answer the question for you. So if, let's take a look at if we search for topic again. So one of the nice aspects of the new system is actually this location button right here. So it seems kind of silly as you're browsing around, but if you click on this location button will take you exactly where you're going. So if you ever are in a place where you're looking at a particular piece of content, you can get back to that folder that it's in very easily. So this also works by clicking on content in the map editor. So it's very easy to get back to your browse location when you're moving through different pieces of content. So if you do click on an item in the linking dialog and you want to get to where that is, you can click the location. And in the same way, if you click on the sourcing link, you can click the location to get back to where it was. What happens to pointers to that topic after they move? Elliot, I assume you're referring to the topic references that link to that topic, and they are all maintained or and updated in the background. So that is part of the link management system. So it's all handled seamlessly. Do we integrate with Java Docs? We don't have any current standing integration with Java Docs. I think that's an interesting question. I think that's something that would be great to get a little more information on. So someone asked, how much work is there involved in configuring DITA shells, constraints and specializations? Basically, you just do it the way you're doing it now by updating your DTDs. And then once those DTDs are updated, we use the Trang compiler, which is actually an open source project. I think some of the people on this call may have contributed to it. And we run it through that to compile the DTDs or schemas, XML schemas into a common format, and that's what we use for validating our maps and topics. So there really isn't anything outside of that that needs to be done. And if you're a partner who's been trained on how to do this, you can upload them into the system. If you're not, we just do it for you. So it's a pretty simple process. There's a question if we have track changes in authoring. We do not have a Word style track changes in authoring. We have the differencing capabilities that we showed before. Question, is there a Drupal publishing connector? We do not have a Drupal connector finished yet. So that's something that we've been discussing with a couple of different organizations. And what we've determined there is that there isn't a lot of work to do, but like all of our other connectors, we generally don't develop things in a void. So we just need a lead customer, and we would build a connection. Probably wouldn't take very long. Our WordPress connection took about 2.5 days, and that was only because we had a little bit of trouble with the OAuth authentication system. So we find that setting up connections to these systems and configurations to these systems is very, very simple and very fast. And when you connect to different things like SharePoint or to other systems, this is for HTML publishing. This isn't for PDF publishing. So what happens is the easyDITA compiles into an HTML format that is specific to that particular endpoint, and it sends the content to that endpoint, and typically builds all of the navigation structures, links, all those different types of things. So when you look at what the publishing connector is set up to do, it's really set up to feed a web-style publishing setup. And this is something we're going to have an in-depth webinar on in the very near future, where we can go in and show a number of different connections and how these things work together. So someone else noted on the JavaDoc import, so maybe this is something that's worth talking about offline. So the people who've pinged me about that, if you wouldn't mind sending me a quick email, or we can try to grab your comments after the fact, and I can reach out to you. Is there a schedule for doing scheduled jobs? Yes, the answer to that, yes, there is. So we can have publishing be run on a schedule, so nightly, weekly. We can also have publishing be run on workflow events. So either of those two things can automatically create content and save them into other parts of the hierarchy. The new version of easyDITA does not change how it interacts with Oxygen. So for those of you who are Oxygen users, there's no real change there. We do have some additions coming for our Oxygen users in the near future, but the initial rollout of easyDITA 2016 will not include changes to the Oxygen interface. It looks like we have one last question here, and it's on storing multiple resolutions of image files. And we do not have a system for that right now. That is a roadmap item that we will be looking towards in either our 16.1 or 16.2 release. And a little more information on that. We are on a quarterly release cycle, so that would be in the pretty near future here. Oh, another question came in. How easy is it to export all topics and topic maps out of easyDITA into regular XML files? It's really easy. So you right-click and you click Download plus Dependencies, and you can see that's downloading here. We've got a bundle, and here's the bundle that we just downloaded. It comes with a manifest file and everything else that's inside of it. So we have all of our different content that we've been working on. So very, very easy to round trip content in and out of easyDITA. All of the URIs are maintained. It's very perfect, clean DITA. There's nothing special going on here. So this is something you can be very confident in using. And this is actually one of the things that we market on a lot, is that the easyDITA is very low risk for someone who's looking to get into a DITA solution that's more than just a shared folder structure or something like that. So if you're looking for a CCMS and you want to try something out, easyDITA is a great solution for those organizations because we're so strict in our compliance with DITA or your specialization. So if you're using DITA for Publishers, for example, this will come out with the DITA for Publishers content exactly as it should be. And you don't have to worry about any kind of vendor lock-in. We're very, very careful about that. Any support for creating different JavaScript slide deck applications? Yes, we did have somebody do that. I don't remember exactly which one they use. I feel like they use maybe slide.js, but you can set this stuff up in the Data Open Toolkit really easily, actually. So basically all you're doing is you're running a different compile of the content to generate the types of HTML that are required for those slide deck applications, and then you're rendering some JavaScript into the same package. So these things really aren't that difficult. We've had compilers that set up that build these in a number of different ways. So doing a slide build on content, totally possible. I don't know anything about the one that you're mentioning here, the reveal.js specifically, but most of these JavaScript-based slide applications work the same way, so it should be pretty straightforward. We've had a couple people ask about 1.3 support. So we can support the 1.3 DTDs today. We're working on building in the user interfaces for the scope keys and branch conditionals and some of the more advanced items. So those are pretty challenging items from a CCMS perspective. We're pretty far along with that stuff. We should have it available in the first half of this year. And that'll integrate into our global context and all those other features to make it really seamless. So those are just the items that are missing. But if you're using the 1.3 DTDs today, that's not a problem. You can use those from an authoring perspective. We support all the elements and those types of things. Yes, running the Data Open Toolkit is very simple. You just click this Publish button right here. And then you select the Data Open Toolkit publishing pipeline. And then you come into New Publish, and you select your publishing configuration, and you click Publish. And then you can, configuring these things is very simple as well. So you can see that I have a drop-down here that I can choose a trans type from. So it's very common that our customers will have a number of different items in here. And to configure that setup, you just come into the plugins and you select the Data Open Toolkit, and then you pick one of your scenarios, you add a new scenario, and then you add the parameters that users are allowed to set. And these can be preset to static values, they can reference other files, or they can be pick boxes. So this gives you a nice way of pre-configuring a Data Open Toolkit publishing process and making it available to all the users in the system. And then once it's there, you just click Publish and it runs. So it's pretty straightforward. And yes, anything that is a supported Data Open Toolkit type, so PDF or Web Help or HTML or anything like that, is supported through the Open Toolkit. Oh, that's the other thing I wanted to mention here. So when you're in this configuration screen, you can click the New button and upload any Open Toolkit or Open Toolkit plugin here, and you can mix them together. So this is really nice for managing your configurations and your different toolkits in one place. So this means that you don't have to do anything to kind of keep all this together, and it will run any version of the Open Toolkit. So as long as you just get the basic download package and you upload it, those things will all work together. And then if you do have plugins in here, you can select them from the Open Toolkit plugins on the side. You can see that I don't have those in my demo instance. But you can either use plugins by having them just in the toolkit when you upload it, or you can upload them here and they'll be dynamically added at runtime. Well, I think we are actually over our hour. So I'll give everybody an option if they want to add any last-minute questions. But I think we're about a minute over. So, all right, great. Well, thank you everybody for coming and taking a look at the new version of easyDITA. If you want to get in there and try it out yourselves, as always, easyDITA provides free 30-day trials where you can come in, you can interact with the system. There's very, very few limitations on the free trials. Only some of the really enterprise features that we can't put on a shared server are restricted. Everything else is available, so you can give it a real full testing and make sure that it works for your organization. We're happy to help you set up connections that are pre-configured connections. So if you want to come in and try out the WordPress connection or the connection to any of the other CMS systems that we mentioned, we're more than happy to help you set that up and get you up and running with that so you can prove that out. We're going to be releasing an open source WordPress theme that makes the process of setting up a documentation portal really simple. So that's going to be available in the near future here as we just kind of wrap it up. So we're going to try to make that as easy and straightforward for teams as possible. Now, and the last question, is the recording going to be available? And yes, the recording will be available. So we will make sure that all of you get a link to that when we've converted it and uploaded it to our server. Thanks again, and looking forward to speaking with all of you in the near future. Bye-bye.